Welcome back, everyone. For this demonstration, I'm going to go over retopologizing the mesh with ZBrush and Maya. You don't need to use ZBrush, but I'm going to use ZBrush just so I could do it a little bit quicker. You could also do it purely just in Maya. So first what I'm going to do is just open up the pants file. Right now I have the pants on here, and I also have the 2D view. First I want to just export the pants. I'm going to subdivide this up a little bit higher. So I'm going to put this up at 8. And I'm going to load in the avatar. I'm going to simulate it just so the new subdivision will get in there, and that's fine. So what I'm first going to do is export the pans. So I'm going to go to File, Export, OBJ Selected. I'm going to export this out as MD Pans 3D and Straight. My naming convention basically is MD for Marvelous Designer. That's where I'm exporting it from. Name of what I'm working on is the pants. I'm putting 3D because I'm going to do a 2D version too. It'll make more sense when I go through this demonstration. The part where I put underscore straight, this basically explains that the pants are straight down. I'm going to also have one that's going to be bent, which are going to be bent forward and bent backwards. So I have different fold variations on the pants, which are going to use the same low poly mesh that I'm creating right now. And here I'm going to say single object. I'm going to say thin. I need to have unified UV coordinates set because I need these UVs. It's pretty major. And then the scale is going to be set at 10%. So because when we imported the avatar in, it was at 1000%. So it's the opposite. After I have everything set, I'm just going to export it. And now I'm going to hide the avatar. The next thing I want to do is export this 2D mesh. So up here on the little blue shirt icon up here, it basically says reset 2D arrangement. That puts it into this view. And now I'm going to select it all yet again. And I'm going to export it. So I'm going to File, Export, OBJ Selected, and I'm going to do Marvelous Designer Pans. It's going to be MD Pans, and this is going to be the 2D view. You can name it whatever you want. This is just for me. This is how I do it. So for here, I'm going to do Selected, Single. I'm going to actually leave this unwelded. If you do weld, all these lines will be verts, basically. It'll be an edge welding it in. So I don't want that. So I need to make sure this is at unwelded for this. I'm going to leave it as thin. I need unified UV coordinates again, and the same export setting. Then hit OK. And one more time. Right now, I'm just going to select it all. I'm going to change the particle distance up. So I'm going to put it at like 30. I'm going to turn off seams because I don't want to see seams right now. And I'm going to go to the wireframe. I'm going to change this to 50. I don't want it that dense. I'm going to click on the mesh and I'm going to quad it instead of being triangulated. Now it's quadded. I'm going to select it. I'm going to go File, Export OBJ Selected again, and this is going to be Marvelous Designer Pants 2D, and this is low, basically for the low poly. It's a little bit easier to do it this way. You don't need to do it this way. You could actually use it from the regular 2D, but for me, this just goes a little bit quicker. So I'm going to export it as that, and the same option, single object, unwelded. I'm going to leave it at thin. I need unified UV coordinates on, and I also need a 10% instead of 1000%. Now I'm going to hit OK, and now that's exported. That should be everything I need to export from Marvelous, so I'm going to close this down and move on to ZBrush. Now that I'm in ZBrush, I'm going to import in that low 2D, so Marvelous Designer Pans 2D low. I'm going to open that up, and inside here, you can see it, I have Polyframe turned on. So I'm going to go to ZRemesher. I'm going to leave Adaptive on. I'm going to change the target poly count down to 0.5. I'm not going to say half seam or double. I'm going to hit ZRemesh, so it's going to quad it up for me. I'm going to adjust some of this in Maya. You could actually just create this in Maya if you want, but for me, this is a lot easier to just do it in ZBrush. So now that I have this, I usually go down to Export. I turn off Group, and then I'll export this. So now, instead of being Marvelous Designer, I'll say ZB for ZBrush, and save it out. And that's all I need to do in here for now. So now I could close this. So now we're in Maya. So what I'm going to do here is first import in everything. So I'm going to go import. First of all, I want to import in the 3D one. So I'm going to go Marvelous Designer Pants 3D Straight. So I have it in here. I'm going to check the UVs out really quick. And I have the UVs on here. So that's the first thing. Make sure UVs are on here correctly. Next, I'm going to import in the ZBrush, the 2D low. So I have the 2D on here. And now I just want to clean this up really quickly because it wasn't perfect in ZBrush, so it didn't make a cut here or anything. So I'm just going to kill that and just kill that. I just want to quad it as best as I can. And now I'm going to also import in the original. 2D. I'm going to put this on a layer so I don't accidentally select it. I just want to make sure stuff is snapped. It's like this could be up there. This could be down here. I just want all these edges be as snapped on as close as it can be. So as I'm cleaning up this mesh, after I cleaned up this mesh, I'm going to just straighten out all the edges. So I'm going to go to the front view, and as best as I could do it, I wanted to get everything lined up and make sure there's the same amount of cuts for everything. It'll make welding a lot easier after I transfer everything. I need to make sure all these verts line up as best as they can. I need another cut in here to line up with, to match it up. All these have to line up for where they stitch in. This is a little bit more prep work than going through Z-Remesher, but if you want the folds for the animation sequences, this makes it a lot easier. After that's all lined up, delete the history. After I have that, I'll name this Pants 2D, and this will be Pants 2D low, and this will be Pants 2D. So to transfer the UVs from the 3D to this one, so I need to select the object that has what I want first. So in this case, I'm going to select the Pants 2D that has the UVs I want. Then I'm going to select the new 2D one that does not have UVs, and then I want to transfer those UVs over. So I'm going to go under Mesh, Transfer Attributes, have everything off, and then I'm going to just transfer UVs, and everything else is fine. World is fine, mirroring is off, and flip UVs are off. So I'm going to hit Apply, and now if I look at the UVs, I have UVs. So I'm going to go up here and delete all by history, so I get rid of that so it's not constrained to this. I'm going to delete that. I do not need the high poly anymore. 2D view, I just want to make sure all these line up. So I'm just going to check that really quickly, and they should line up, and everything lined up. So after it all lined up, I'm going to import in my 3D mesh again. I'm going to take this mesh, I'm going to subdivide it a couple times. So I'm going to go smooth. I'm going to change it to 4 subdivisions. I'm going to hit smooth. And smooth it out. After I have this smoothed out, I want to place this mesh onto here. So I'm going to select this mesh first, and then the new mesh. I'm going to go under Mesh, Transfer Attributes option again. I'm going to turn off this. I want to change the vertex position. I'm going to use UV space for the sampling it. So it's going to use these UVs on both of these to place it onto here. So I'm going to hit Transfer, and there we go. After it's on there, I got to delete the history, and then I can select the original, and I can delete that. So now I have a nice clean mesh on here. The only problem is they're not welded in. But since I lined everything up, everything will be lined up a lot nicer now. So what I would do is just go through this and just weld everything. I'm going to smooth this out. I don't like how this came out. I'm going to select the whole mesh and soften it. I want to make sure display properties under polygons are set to soften hard edges so I can see exactly what needs to be welded. So I'm going to select all that, I'm going to merge, and then I'm going to soften. And make sure that's welded in, so that's fine. And now I just want to weld everything in. So from here down, from here up, needs to be welded in. So what I'll do is I'll bridge this, and I'll give it no divisions. And then I'm gonna go polygon, split UVs, because this area I'm gonna collapse that, and that's welded now. I just gotta do it for every portion. I soften it. Now I gotta weld the side of the pants. So there we go, guys. So that's how I would do the topology. It's a little bit longer than the other way. So for doing it for the fold animations, this is going to make it a lot easier. I have the pants already set up, so I could apply this to the other fold animations. It's going to be a lot easier. And I could take this into ZBrush just like I did in the last video, and I could add the thickness on there. I did 4 subdivisions on this, so I just add 4 splits on it. So just to reiterate, I'll just re-export this. Export selected. And I'll do Maya. This is pants, 3D straight. Save it. And go inside ZBrush. Import in those pants. So I have the pants in here. The belt line I never welded. I was just checking. So then if I go on here, geometry, edge loops. I had 4 subdivisions, so that would be the first one would have 1 loop, the second one would have 2 loops, the third one would have 4 loops, and the fourth one would have 8 loops. Bevel, elevation, polish, panel loops. That's how we would do it. It's the same way, but it's a little bit cleaner. And now you can just smooth it out, just so it gets rid of all that information. You could have had smooth out the mesh beforehand also when you transfer everything over. But that's how I would do it. You would get the subdivisions and everything you want. And now you have a nice clean topology mesh. It's perfectly quads throughout the whole pants. So it works out really well for you guys. And there we go. A little bit more complicated to understand, but once you get it down, it goes pretty quickly. I don't know the process of Max since I use Maya primarily. Now when we go into animating the fold with the quad mesh with the UVs, it's going to be a little bit easier to handle it now. Before it would have been a little bit more complex. Now it's going to be a little bit easier to smooth it out. Hopefully I didn't go too fast for you guys and it wasn't too technical, but this is a nice clean way to get a nice clean mesh. Have fun and talk to you guys next time.